Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakrito Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaye Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shruniyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhir Yajatraha Sthirairangai Sashtuvagam Sastanubhi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nartakshyo Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brahaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The word atha is also seen as a Mangala Suchakam. But the literal meaning of the word atha is thereafter. The question that automatically arises is, after what? Does it mean after retirement? Does it mean after I have finished everything else? You can look at it as saying, after having lived a life in the three ashramas, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, and Vanaprastha, one has readied oneself for this knowledge. What do you do in each of these ashramas? In the Brahmacharya ashrama, one focuses only on studies. Initially, studies by rote. Every Veda you study, or at least your own Veda you study. You also study sciences. In the Gurukulam in those days, children spent 12 years only studying. They would study astrology, they would study astronomy, they would study all the sciences, cosmology, as well as physics and mathematics, geography. So they were completely well-rounded people. That whole system has got disrupted. Today, some children study Veda. And then they go into a profession which is to be a priest. Now we have in the world today another stream which we think of as mainstream. In those days, these people were the mainstream. They studied everything and they became knowledgeable not only about sciences as well as other related matters, but were considered people to go to for clearing any doubts. Today, the children who learn Veda, typically by rote, stop there. The only profession they are fit for then is to become priests. I'm not belittling their profession. But they have no way of assimilating with the society. They have a limited one part and that's all they do. Many of them stop there. Some of them study further, try to understand what the meaning of all those things is, why one does what one does. Maybe even come to the stage of understanding there's something called moksha. If you ask some of those people, what would you like your son to be? Many of them would not like their son to follow their footsteps. Because the society does not give them any value. Nor do they have a value. If they were people who understood moksha, and therefore they're saying, I will do this because there is higher objective, then it becomes a very high, satisfying pursuit. But this does not happen. The society does not give them a lot of position or respect. They give respect, but in a very limited way. And only one limited part of the society. The rest of the society does not give them any position of value. The rest of the society tends to look down upon them. That is not the preparation we are talking about here. A person going to a Gurukula and completing brahmacharya is a person of great knowledge and erudition, respected in the society. Unfortunately, modern society does not even give a lot of respect to teachers. Teaching profession, or in words we say it's a noble profession, but it is not sensed as such. I saw a video recently where there were 4 people. One was a doctor somebody, one was a captain somebody, and one was something else, again had a title to that person, and one was without a title, just a name. And people were asked to see, they had their nameplate in front of them, they asked to see who is the most important among these. So people picked one of these 3. Somebody said, he's an army man, protects us, protects our society. Because of him, we are able to in peace live and sleep in peace. Somebody says the doctor is the most important among these 4 because he saves life, he removes pain, physical pain at least. Like that, each of them, they said something or the other. And they were asked who is the least important. And almost all the people pointed to the 4th person, saying she is the least important. When asked why, they said, we don't know who she is. She doesn't have a title. And then they revealed that lady was the teacher for all these 3. She taught them for many years. And each of them got up and did pranams to her. That respect for that knowledge which somebody imparts to other people as the biggest giving. In many societies, it is lost. I'm sure all of those people felt very sheepish when the truth was revealed. Interesting little clip I saw. Here, to gain this knowledge, one must have lived through these. A brahmachari, that would study, focus only on study, not on politics, study and seva. You will find that in almost every teaching position, seva is given a lot of importance. In a Gurukulam in those days, Ashrama Seva and Guru Seva were considered very, very important. Today, if you go to a place like Ramakrishna Mission, when somebody joins there as a brahmachari, he is given only seva to do. Seva to the Guru, seva to the ashram, and highly disciplined. You do seva, it's important. Seva is not, I work without getting a payment. That's not seva. Seva is a bhava. Seva becomes extremely important. Those days, perhaps, they would go and do seva in the kitchen, do seva in the fields, do seva for looking after the animals, do seva for the Guru. They were served food by typically the Guru Patni. And they've never questioned what they were served. When we were studying for 4 years in the Gurukulam, we had all kinds of people. We had people who were, many of them were foreigners. And the food served was simple, hot, sattvic food. Some of them went to the Acharya and complained. Swami G, this food is not suiting us. I want bread and cake. It's not what you're there for. You're there to study. You focus only on studies. Once you finish the study, you become what is called a snata. It's like a final valediction. Snanam is word meaning to take a bath. There's a ritual bath indicating the end of that phase, that ashrama. And then the person is expected to move into the next phase, next ashrama, grahastha ashrama, which is an ashrama of pleasure and duties. There are duties in every ashrama, but not indulgence, not excesses. Grahastha is the most productive ashrama. In fact, Grahastha ashrama supports all the other ashramas, but also has the highest amount of karma to be done, prescribed karma. So one goes through the stages of growth. In the process, you also see physical growth happening, but simultaneously, emotional growth is also happening. And having spent time in Grihastha ashrama, where one experiences pleasures as well as problems. Then one matures because of this interaction with the world. And by the time the next generation is ready and cleared the brahmacharya ashrama. The person in grahastha ashrama leads a life of activity. Like I said, most productive ashrama. But all this, whether you're a brahmachari or a person is a grahastha, the ultimate goal is never lost sight of. Everything we do, the food you eat, the dress you wear, the way you conduct yourself, all of them are aligned to what the ultimate objective is. Therefore, what happened was, even if the person did not understand what the ultimate objective is, the life prescribed led towards that. So what happened when a person is told to do something, because others who have gone through all this understand that there is a ultimate goal, the elders, the people in the grahastha ashrama and the brahmacharya ashrama, you do like this. Now they don't know, they may not know what the ultimate objective is, but they will follow because they know there is something. Whereas what happens in modern day living is when a child asked to do Topakaranam to Playar before going for an exam, they ask why. This is a physical activity. Why should I do it? For what is the relation between this and an exam? Parents may not be able to explain that. But they know there is something. So while questioning was encouraged, certain areas where the child was not ready, the child was simply expected to follow what is prescribed. Sometimes when I'm discussing with youngsters, I come across an argument because I tell them, look, this is something you cannot understand just now. You just follow because there are others who have lived through life and seen much more of life. You will realize when you grow a little older. And they will come back with the thing saying, that is your go-to argument. Because you can't answer my questions. Partially true. So the grahastha ashrama, an ashrama full of activity, brahmacharya ashrama is full of learning. Grahastha ashrama is full of activity. Then when the next generation ready has finished brahmacharya ashrama and ready for grahastha ashrama and perhaps entered grahastha ashrama, the grahastha-ashrami who has been doing all this for many years moves on to the vanaprastha ashrama. This is an ashrama for contemplation. At the same time, an ashrama where a person is accessible to the brahmachari and the grahastha-ashrami to clarify any doubts, to give them advice, etc. So there one is focused on doing various kinds of meditation, contemplation. It's a life not of activity, but a life of contemplation. And finally, when one recognizes that moksha is what is to be attained, and therefore becomes a mumukshu, and that can be attained only through knowledge, and therefore becomes a jignasu, person goes in quest of that knowledge. as a sannyasi. So if you look at this, the person who goes searching for the knowledge because he or she has understood that there is knowledge to be gained and that is what the ultimate goal is, then that person goes looking for a guru. That is the stage of readiness. By that time, a person is expected to have gained what Tattva Bodha calls adhikaritvam. Viveka, Vairagya, Shramadamadi Shatka Sampattihi, and Mumukshutvam. See, each of these has to be gained in time. One, people ask me, should it be a matter of experience? Yes, this part is a matter of experience. That's why you have to go through Brahmacharya, you have to go through Grihastha, all of that you have to go through. Then the questions that come to the mind will be more focused. Is there an ultimate goal? And one gains the idea that there is something called moksha. And that moksha is what I'm trying to achieve. I don't know what it is. Therefore, I'm going to dedicate my entire life to finding that. Now, he may or may not wear kavi. By wearing kavi, what happens is the sannyasi gets a formal sanction for not doing any karma at all. There is no karma prescribed for a sannyasi. All the other three stages have detailed karma specified for them. But one can still be a sannyasi in the sense that I am going after that knowledge. A sannyasi does it exclusively, doesn't do any other karma, because he wears ochre and has been given total sanction to not do anything. The society recognizes that. The society does not expect the sannyasi to do anything. But every other ashrama, one is expected to contribute a certain amount of. There's a contribution also in sannyasa, we will talk about it in a minute. But they're expected to be active, they're expected to do something. So this adhikaritvam, by the time you've gained all this, you're already sannyasi. The word sannyasi comes from the word nyasa. Nyasa means tyaga. One who has not only developed a desire to know, is therefore a jignasu, has also collected adequate amount of punya, of adequate type of punya, which leads him or her to a guru. Then he's also gained vairagya. Yes, viveka, because he understands that there is something to be gained. He's also got vairagya. What is vairagya? Simply that the person understands that anything I can gain by my efforts, by my own desire, raga, and a desire to go away from dvesha, is only a limited end with all its attendant doshas. Therefore, the person looks at those and says, okay, I will get this, I have no problem. Shastra doesn't say don't get it, don't get money, fame, wealth, whatever else. But that's not driving me. I am looking for that one thing which is limitless. That level of emotional maturity. These days we have a lot of uh, training programs on how to gain emotional maturity. I don't know if they talk about this. Physical maturity, every living being gains. You will gain with no effort on your part. Emotional maturity is when one recognizes that whatever I gain from doing something by pursuing raga and avoiding dvesha is not really my objective. It is that stage where atha refers to. Thereafter, when I have recognized that there is a moksha to be gained, I have developed the necessary quality like shama, dhamma, ityadi. I have understood viveka is there. I know that is to be gained. And I have gained vairagya, which is the understanding that whatever I gain by doing is not my goal. Akrittaha kritena, we saw in that shloka, in that mantra. Na labhyate. So how do I get it? At that stage is when the person becomes adhikari and starts seeking that knowledge. At that point, that emotional sense of maturity means ragadvesha doesn't drive you. There is no sense of want. I don't need external validation for everything. Otherwise, what do? Our strongest driving force is what will others think? I don't need external validation. Swami Ji, how am I going to get this? Look for it. In this world, for every need we have, Ishvara has provided a fulfilling method. If there's a natural need for thirst, water is provided. If there's natural need for hunger, food is provided. Aushadhi. This is also a natural need only the mature person recognizes. The need to know. I don't know how to know. But I know that this is also provided for. Then one starts seriously seeking, saying, where and how do I find this? All means are given. I've gained the emotional maturity to not wait for appreciation, approval, acceptance by anybody or anything. Atha means the level of emotional maturity coming from the viveka, vairagya, shamadamadi, shatka sampatti and mokshutvam. But how do you explain people like Shankara and other people who have straight away gone to sannyasa? That means they are seeking already at that stage. It is very easy to understand. They have to have gone through these stages sometime. May not be in this janma, maybe in the previous janmas. And Bhagavan assures us in the 6th chapter, Kalyana Krit is never lost. So they have completed this. They've done their life as a karma yogi. They've lived through these ashramas and are very early in their life ready for sannyasa. Many others go through these in the current janma and eventually start seeking. In this process of seeking, in this process of getting the adhikaritvam, atha, if one lives a life intelligently, one recognizes that I have certain needs and I can fulfill these needs, and that I am a combination of the gunas, and these gunas drive me to do everything. Guna guneshu vartante iti matvana sajjate. When I recognize these, I examine myself. Am I tamasic? Predominantly, I have all three. That means I'm given to doing nothing. Procrastination, laziness. Forget about trying to seek knowledge. I'm lying under the banana tree, hoping that banana will automatically fall into my mouth. I want to do nothing. And not only will it fall into my mouth, on the way it will unpeel itself before it falls into my mouth. Or am I driven to seek pleasure, to seek praise, to enjoy, because I have recognized only this much, that if somebody praises me, I feel good temporarily. Or am I predominantly sattvic and question these things? Should I be just lying around doing nothing? Should I be actively pursuing something? Live a life full of activity? Or should I start seeking answers to very fundamental questions? Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha eva cha pramada mohau tamasaha bhavato ajnanasmeva cha. When I move up to being sattvic predominant, I'm ready to gain this knowledge. Therefore, atha would also mean a person has moved with effort to being sattvic predominant. That's how knowledge comes. Tamas, do nothing. Rajas, do for pleasure, praise, enjoyment. Sattva, look for jnanam, moksha jnanam. So what does one pray for? Does one pray for immediate pleasure because it is rajasic driven? Does one pray for moksha? Please pray for moksha. In many prayers you will see, we pray for good health. We pray for sound mind. We even pray for wealth. We pray for progeny. But In all these prayers, the underlying super prayer, if you want, is moksha. I want to be physically strong so that I'm not distracted from my effort to find the jnanam. I want to be mentally sound and not disturbed for the same reason. I want a certain minimum amount of comfort for the same reason. Once you become jnani, the comfort is irrelevant. But till then, I want to be pain-free for the jnana. Even this prayer we will see, even in the Saraswati Upanishad, we pray for strong limbs. Swastina Indro Vruddhashravaha. And before that, what did they say? Tirairangai Shishtubhagum Sastanubihi. I want good physical strength, body, etc. So having gone through the Karma Kanda, having gone through the life of a Karma Yogi, which is life activity, one moves on to contemplative life in Vanaprastha and eventually Sannyasa and focuses on the Jnana Kanda, Upanishads. The Upanishads themselves are interesting. All the Vedas have 4 parts called Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and the Upanishads themselves, called Vedanam Antaha, the last portion of the Veda. Aranyaka and Brahmana are very ritual oriented, talk of ways and means. They will give you everything that you require for fulfilling artha and kama and live a life of dharma. Aranyaka, and therefore those are suited for brahmacharya and more than that into grahastha. Because in the grahastha ashrama, you expect to do all the rituals and gain whatever the Jagat has to offer. The Aranyaka, as you can imagine, the name himself implies, Aranya means forest. There's a Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha also means one who lives for the forest. Meant for contemplation. And Upanishads, as you saw, the meaning of the word Upanishad is meant for gaining that knowledge of Brahman. Every Upanishad only does that. Every Upanishad gives you exactly the same message. Tattvamasi. It may reiterate something and rephrase something. That's not the purpose. Purpose is only jnanam. That jnanam is required to understand that if I am looking for limitlessness, I'm not going to gain that by doing something. Every doing, every karma is going to produce a result, but that result is limited. How am I going to produce limitlessness? You cannot produce limitlessness. The limitation comes because we think we are limited, that we are bound, that limits are the binding. If a cow is tied to a post, The limit is the length of the rope. That's the limit. But that is a rope, is a real in the Vyavaharika sense. Now suppose a person has his hands bound at the back with a rope. It is, as far as the Vyavaharika is concerned, is real binding. Then you need somebody to come and untie you and remove you from your binding. If you are a sinner, somebody has to come and redeem you. But suppose that person goes into coma and he's been bound, hands bound at the back for many, many days. And he goes into coma and somebody comes and unties him. But he still has his hands here when he wakes up from his coma at the back and thinks he's bound. How are you going to unbind him? How are you going to make him recognize that he is not bound? No amount of physical action or mental action in the sense of trying to remove the binding can work. It's only the knowledge, hey, I am free. That it is an established fact. It is not something which is to be attained. It is already there. I only have to know. Like our famous 10th man. There was no loss of a 10th man. But the leader was so worried, so concerned. I have given a commitment to my guru when I took away the other Sishyas to cross the river and go to the fair. I have lost one of them. How am I going to respond to the guru? I am feeling guilty. He bangs his head against the tree. He is suffering physically and emotionally and mentally. How are you going to remove that? Our famous 10th man only needed somebody to come and tell him, hey, listen, you're not bound. No, but I feel bound. You're not bound. Don't take my word for it. Question. How do you say I'm not bound? I can only count 9 people. We were 10 of us when we started. How do you say I'm not bound? Like the fellow who has his hands behind him, another fellow comes and says, why are you sitting like this? No, my hands are bound. They've been bound for the last many years. Hey, but don't you know that it's not bound? No, it's bound. Listen, it is not bound. Tell me how. Explain this to me. Only when he understands, when the jnanam arises, does he feel he's not bound. Otherwise, he's bound. Even though he's not bound, he's bound. This is exactly what happens to us. It is not that we are limited, but the sense of limitation is so strong that you need a pramana to show you that sense of limitation is misplaced. Because there is no limitation. You remember we talked about Ananya Bhakti? Bhagwan, you are Sarvajna, Sarvashaktiman. You are everything. I am so small, I am limited. I have now been studying the Vedanta for a long time. And everything tells me I am Mukta Purusha. And being Mukta Purusha, I am you. I don't understand. Like that fellow with his hand bound at the back had been removed, he still feels it's bound. But he has Shraddha. And there's Shraddha in the Shastra and in the Guru, and praise to the Guru. Please does not pray to the Guru saying, please free me. That he is free, he knows. He doesn't know. That he is free is a fact. But he asks the Guru, please make me understand. This happens often with children. The child doesn't know. Child doesn't know its own capacity many times. And then the mother shows him or her, you're very capable. Then mother becomes Guru, Bhagavan rolled into one. As we grow up, this conviction that I am limited only grows, does not go away. However much I try to cover, it does not go away. Any other form of gaining, any form of gaining at all, can always be bettered because there always scope for more. Everything else, therefore, is bondage. That bondage is really speaking not real. That bondage leads me to non-self-acceptance. All we are trying to do, all of us, all the time, is to find that space where there is no non-self-acceptance. And here comes the Upanishad, because we've got the maturity already. It says, hey, listen, you're not bound. You're limitless. You're Purna. So at that stage, where Atha, I'm a sannyasi, I'm only trying to find out how. Therefore, the Shastra says, by approaching a teacher with the right attitude of saying, I want to know. All these years, I thought I knew, but I recognize that there is somewhere a flaw in my thinking. He says, please teach me. Shishyasteham palimam tvam prapannam. And says, you go with an attitude where you question. But with an attitude of saying, I want to know. Not an arrogance of I know. Tadvitti pranipatena, pariprashnena and sevaya. By seva. So one goes to the Guru because anything else I have here, anything I gain can be bettered. If I have huge amount of wealth today, I can always get some more. If I've attained something very big, I've become the national champion in tennis, there's something more to gain. I've become the Wimbledon champion. There also is something more to gain. I can become 2-time Wimbledon champion, 3-time Wimbledon champion. Oh, there's a record. Somebody has become Wimbledon champion 6 times. I must better that record. It can always be better. I'm the president of the United States, most powerful country in the world, at least as of now. I don't know how long they'll remain like this. Still a lot to do, a lot to gain. I want the Nobel Peace Prize. There is only one knowledge, one gain, which cannot be bettered. When I know at one stage, with Shraddha, I know I'm infinite. And that knowledge has been given to me by Vedanta and the Guru. How can you better it? So only one which we cannot better. Everything else you can always add +1. Then you don't do anything at all. Why should you do anything after that? For what? Atmanam ched vijaniyat ayamasmi iti purushaha kimichanna kasya kamaya shariram anusanjaret. Upanishad. Once you know the self as the limitless, which cannot be bettered, why would you do anything? Kimichanna, knowing, wishing what? Kasya kamaya, to fulfill which kama? Why should you put your sharira through any effort at all? It is only knowing that jnanameva moksha, because it's already an accomplished fact. That I am a mukta purushaha is already established as a fact. I don't have to do anything to become mukta. And this fact is brought home to us by the Upanishad. When we have reached that stage of maturity, to be able to say, I have so many ideas, conclusions, etc., but all them are non-fulfilling, that there is something called moksha that can be gained. Gained, I'm putting in quotes. Then, tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya, one goes to a guru, and the guru, that jnani, will give you that knowledge. Te upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadashibhi. Bhagwan's assurance. All they will tell you, hey, listen, you are the 10th man. They are not going to give you any new knowledge. It's there. And this knowledge is there in every Upanishad. There are over 108 Upanishads that are existing today. They are known. When Shankaracharya started writing this Bhashyam for the Upanishads, he picked a few. So these Upanishads are not very easy to understand by themselves. Even with a guru, with the help of a guru, there are many things that we need to understand by reading the commentary on them. So Shankaracharya wrote the commentary on 10 of these Upanishads. Sometimes they are referred to as a major Upanishad. That's not a very good terminology because every Upanishad is the same, message is the same. Isha Kena Katha Prashna Mundaka Mandukya Taitreya Aitireya Chandogya Bradharnika. These 10 are Upanishads which Shankaracharya has written Bhashyam. Once we finish the round of this thing, we will start with the Bhashyam on some of these as well as the Bhashyam for Bhagavad Gita. Kaivalya Upanishad is one of the Upanishads for which Bhashyam is not there by Shankaracharya. But other people have written Bhashyam. There is one Shankarananda who is the guru of Vidyaranya of the Panchadashi fame, who has written this Bhashyam for Kaivalya Upanishad. It's available. And this Kaivalya Upanishad belongs to the Atharva Veda, as does Mundaka Upanishad, which we've already done, Mandukya Upanishad, which we will do, and they have a certain prayer. Then the other Upanishads, Isha Upanishad and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, they are in the Shukla Yajurveda. Yajurveda comes in two recensions, Shukla Yajurveda and Krishna Yajurveda. Taitreya comes in Krishna Yajurveda. Aitareya Upanishad comes from Rigveda. Kena Upanishad is from, and also Chandogya Upanishad are from Samaveda. But irrespective of which Veda it comes from, because like I said, the message is all the same. These Vedas were already existent. They were classified into these 4 Vedas by Vyasacharya. He didn't write them very, very clearly because these are supposed to be apaurusheya, don't have a human intelligence going into them. What Vyasacharya did was to collect and collate them into these 4 recensions. And because they were scattered across the country, individual families picked up one Veda and followed it through the generations. If you've got Upanayanam, when you do your Abhivadaye, you will say which Shakha you belong to, Yajush Shakha. Because my family has been studying this Upanishad, this Veda, and therefore the Upanishad here. But it doesn't matter which one you read. The message is the same. In fact, one reason why Kaivalya Upanishad has name, some of the Upanishads have the name starting with the first word, Kena Upanishad, because the first word happens to be Kena. Here the first word is Atha, but it is not called Athopanishad, it's called Kaivalya Upanishad. One of the reasons for that is any one Upanishad you read, Kevalasya Bhavam, it's enough. Another name for moksha is Kaivalyam. But why do you then read so many Upanishads, Swamiji? To answer that question, one only has to sit down and recollect. What did I learn when I studied Kathopanishad? And see how much of it one remembers. There is a solid block which does not allow that knowledge to seep in. Therefore, one studies it many ways. Each of these Upanishads brings in different prakarana, different ways of looking at it. Message is the same. By doing that, hopefully, in time, that knowledge will be assimilated. If I go that far, I often take we had taken very detailed notes when we attend Upanishad classes and other classes, like the Bhagavad Gita or Brahma Sutra. Today, when I pick up my notes and read through them, I say, my God, I knew so much. Only I didn't know. You have to repeatedly look at that. Therefore, we do many different Upanishads, giving us the same tatparya. Aham brahmosmi, tattvamasi. You will find all those who've been studying for a number of years now, many of them look repetitive. But that's necessary. For this knowledge to be assimilated, that is necessary. I told you a simple test. How to know why it is necessary is to simply try and recollect what I studied in a particular Upanishad and what I learned. With some of you, I have been doing a little exercise. I've been asking some of these youngsters, after we finished the class 2-3 days later, I asked them, what did we do in the last class? Where did we finish? They can tell you how easy or how difficult it was to figure that out. It's an interesting exercise to do. Before you come to the next class, if you allow your mind to contemplate on what we studied and where we ended, and if you have notes, worthwhile going back and reading through the notes again. I don't know how many of you are taking notes while we're doing the class, but it might be worthwhile. Om Bhadram Karne Vishnunyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Tirairangai Shushtabhagam Sastanuvihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashavaha Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti Nastakshyo Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brahaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti 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 Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Hari Om.